Yes, guys, welcome back to the squad on TDK Plus. How are you? I hope you're doing rambunctiously well on this Tuesday, this match day, or maybe the day after. Who knows? Who knows when you're listening to this? But I hope you are well. Regardless, we are here to. Listen. This is going to be fun. This show is going to be. They're always fun. But I'm sensing this show is going to be extra special fun for you people. So make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And with us to discuss all the goings on, as always, are the boys in white, Mr. Rohan Jivan.
Hello.
And Mr. George Voutsas. How are you, chaps?
Great. There's a joke in Men in White. I don't want to be the one to make it, but there's a joke there.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and it can only be interpreted wrong, so I'm going to steer away from that.
Okay. Might be wise. Let us know in the comments what you think that joke was. I mean, who knows? Listen, we are here. I was away in Italy for the game on Saturday, but luckily my mother wanted to go to sleep, so I managed to catch the end of the game, and I have been waiting for this moment to chat to you boys about it since then. So good. So good. And I start with this. Who's invited to the parade? Because I feel like we need to start a list. And I've started a list already, but I want everyone's involvement on this as well in the comments. Let us know. Murillo's on there for the block. David Moyes is on there.
Oh, I'm a bit unsure, you know.
Not having that?
No, because he made it extremely tough. He made it extremely tough.
He's defended the boys and Mikel in the past, so that's kind of my thinking with David Moyes. Thomas Frank's on there, silver member. Mavropanos? I think Mavropanos is invited to the parade. Chaps, it's an unbelievable weekend.
You've missed one.
Go on.
Danny Mensah-Welbeck, because when he came on in that game, I was dreading it. I was thinking at halftime, oh no, Danny Welbeck's going to come on at some point in this game and he's going to cause absolute carnage. He didn't even attempt for an aerial ball. He didn't even try in the box. That's my guy. My guy Welbs. He's coming. He's front and centre.
This man, straight there with us on top of the bus. Listen, it was an unbelievable weekend. I'm going to start with you, Rohan, because you were there. You were in the stadium. You were right by the celebrations. You've got to tell us, how was that?
Oh my God, I could not believe what I saw. It was literally just there, literally right in front of me. When it happened, I was thinking, I've got to get on a chair here. I need to get on a chair and get involved in this because honestly, I was speechless, absolutely speechless, because I didn't actually realise how impressive the goal was from the build-up, because when you're sitting in lower tier, you sat in lower tier, you can't see anything properly. I mean, it's just, you're there for the vibes and the atmosphere. That's how I see it. And then when I watched it back, I thought, oh my God, the composure, it's insane. And we have to give ourselves credit for this, because in the previous pod, we all said, he is our trump card. He is our trump card. He will make an impact. When push comes to shove, when we need something to happen, he will be picked, because Mikel has done it already this season. He did it against Liverpool, against the champions back in August. That was the moment when I thought, oh my God, he's actually serious bringing him into the team this season. I didn't think that was going to happen. You know, like the argument before that was his debut against Leeds. He came on at 4-0, right? And one could argue that it's quite easy to bring on a 16-year-old when there's no jeopardy on the line, right? 4-0, game's done and dusted. He wins the penalty. It's great. It's brilliant. And it's an impressive achievement. But I hear that argument. But I knew from that Liverpool game, we were going to see more of Max. And it's unfortunate with the ligament damage he suffered, I think, in around September time. He was out for 3 months. And that was during a period in which we were struggling across the forward line for options. You know, my only slight annoyance is I think he would have broken the record at 15, because he turned 16 in December. I genuinely think he would have broken the record before, because he's
so annoying.
You know, so annoying. But yeah, no, it was crazy. And he changed it. He might have won us the Premier League title. No, he has won us the Premier League title. I'll go as far as saying.
We'll come back to that in a second. Yeah, look, there's so much to get into, and I'm also aware it's match day, so we need to talk about Bayer. But the only thing in my mind for like the last few days, George, has been that goal and what it means, and that day, and how that was. Which is what's a shame we're recording on Monday because it's a few days later, but it's still in my mind. It was an unbelievable weekend. I think specifically on Max. Yeah, we should have clipped that up, Rohan. You're right. I forgot about that. Giving ourselves some clout. That's what we're all after, isn't it? That's what all that matters in the modern world. But yeah, it was just an incredible moment. And I sort of couldn't believe I was seeing people, certainly rival fans, probably cope-wise, say that's not an iconic moment. How can you say to me, a potentially what else do you need? It's potentially title deciding and winning on a day where Man City drop points. It's contextually relevant. He's the youngest Premier League goal scorer. He's a homegrown talent. The way he scored it, the time he scored it, in the team he scored it, and what that team needs. What else do you need? What other ingredients could there be for it to be an iconic moment? Do you need like the spirit of Arsene Wenger to come through? What do you need? What more do you want? It was an unbelievable moment, and it's one I will treasure forever because I think it could be not only defining in this title race, but defining in this era of Arsenal Football Club. It's incredible.
Look, there's enough here to make it a section, and it's for good reason. First off, towards that, he made history, so shut up. I don't care how much you say it. He made history factually. So yes, it's going to be talked about.
Against, by the way, the team history. That last did it, the team with the youngest Premier League goal scorer. It's another element.
No. Look, the story is there, but he factually made history. So be quiet, off you bop. And it's more one of those things where we're going to be there when in 20 years we're talking about Max Dowman making his debut. It's huge. We've said it on podcasts before. So there is all that tap on the back, but I want to give Max Dowman his credit. Let's just break down exactly what
let's give ourselves the credit. That's who's the real winner here.
Yeah, exactly.
Predicting that you might be good at football. Oh, well done, guys.
Guys, it wasn't even... So, yeah, there's all that context about what Arsenal needed, the Maverick, the type of thing that we need to go to change a game. But, guys, he also went on and had the most touches of any player. The ball went through him. So it wasn't just a case of like, okay, he's a Maverick and he's putting it on himself. The team said, okay, he's here. Give it to him. Give it to him. The 16-year-old, the youngest player to have scored in Premier League history. Give it to him when we're searching for solutions. And, guys, it wasn't even just for the solo goal that he does, bring it out the back. Even the first goal, as far as what he does to create that shift and shoot for the back post cross. I mean, look, Pickford makes a mess of it as far as claiming goes, but that back post cross was something that we were searching for all game. We didn't have consistency with it. I call it the Bukayo Saka cross, the touch line, look up, pinpoint, deep back post. It was brilliant. And, for all the people saying about his passing range as well, it's not just the carrying that's really good. It's, it's that as well. Look, there's been a lot of stuff that we'll contend with. I mean, he's younger than Yamal when he goes it. I think Yamal is going to be the point of comparison for him for many years to come. But, the fact that people are calling him the Messi word, and it's not just Mikel Arteta, you've got John Terry doing it, you've got those comparisons flying. He is burdened with glorious purpose, is how I would put it. This is a guy that
got a Messi regen.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And you know what the scary part is? I've been saying this point quite a bit. It's not just the technique. It's not just the carrying capacity. It is that superpower thing where he looks slow. Everything he does, it looks slow. But then you have to look at the players and the type of players that are heaving to catch up with him. Mykolenko is not a slow player, guys. Mykolenko is like out of breath trying to keep up with him when he's off the separation. And then, so that to me, it's like, I don't think people realize how physical this kid is, because everything he looks, it's so fluid, it's so aesthetic that it's kind of a case of where it looks slower than it actually is. Like, you have to watch the people around him and who's trying to keep up with him to understand how quick everything is moving. And then, guys, just the awareness, I'm just telling, not to be that person of, if you've played ball, but that second goal, Jesus Christ, like the awareness on the run to head the ball in that moment to get it around, and then the shift, by the way, left to right foot out at full pelt, it's insane. Makes it look like a really quick shimmy. And yeah, this is a significant point in the title race though, guys, because you know what? For as much as I give the club a lot of crap, which I still think that the Semenyo thing was a mistake, I still believe those things. But the fact that Max is back It is our very own trump card that the league doesn't know. It really is. And look, okay, he's had his golden moment, but guys haven't seen him enough in order to prepare a tactical plan against this. And for 7 games left to discover that, it's going to be priceless, especially when we're going to have a slog. And I don't think that we need 7 wins to win this title, but certainly we need 4 or 5. And when you start to look at those things, especially for a team that looks tired, because it is competing on all fronts. And, he's a weapon in the Champions League that we haven't even seen yet. Like, there's a lot of football to be played here. And for as much as I'm annoyed that he didn't maybe come in sooner, there's also the drawback, guys. This is one of the few really fit attackers as far as minutes go in the legs this season as well. There's a huge impact to what this means for Arsenal Football Club's history, its future. Replaces Cesc Fabregas, by the way, for Arsenal as the youngest scorer, not just the Premier League. I think there's a little bit of cultural significance there. I mean, a lot of feelings towards Cesc from a lot of fans, but to have it replaced by Max, and I think him leading the new era, because it is going to be that case. And I really do think, guys, it's going to be a case of not when Max enters the first team. It's how soon do we keep him out of the first 11?
I think, the 2 things really before we sort of move on from this. One is a little bit of credit for Mikel as well, because as much as we want to praise Max, firstly, the art of making substitutes. I think Mikel, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's like 11 goals or something from substitutes. Pep has 1. Which is the lowest in the league. I think Mikel has the highest. Like, he does have a bit of a sense of that. I always say this, but we talk about this right on like TDK Live. If you lose a game, the subs were wrong. Like, it's just the way people say, the subs were wrong. So, well, you can't really argue with it. But Mikel has consistently, if you look at the numbers, if you go on Transfermarkt, there's like goal involvements from substitutes. And it's also not just, and his numbers are always consistently good. And it's not just goal involvements always. I think that's a bit reductive. He often brings on players at the right time to sort of change the energy of a game, which might lead to a goal somewhere else. So there's something there, and trusting, a 16-year-old and so on. But I think also specifically the reason this is so exciting is, one, its utility moving forward in the start race, which we'll talk about, and I'll come to you on in a second, Rohan. But it's not just that he is the talent he is. It's exactly what this team needs right now. George, you sort of briefly touched on it in terms of what we need. An attacker who we can run the game through, but it's an inform attacker. It's a guy with that physicality. It's a guy who has the fearlessness. It's the guy who is who hasn't been analysed within an inch of his life. The Miles problem maybe from last year to this one. This is a new thing, and I often talk about with relegation threatened teams. James Alcott actually asked a question yesterday. It's like, if you were a manager going into a relegation threatened team, what's one thing you'd want? And I nearly replied, a young player on fire, like Mateus Mane or something, because that can change the energy so quickly. If it gets a bit toxic, whatever, a young player coming through, there's just something different about it. You could sign a player of his talent, but the fact he's a young player's come through at Helen, it just gives an extra couple of percentage that makes it so special. It's absolutely incredible. Ryan, I don't want to shut you out of the Max discussion. I do want to talk about him probably again later in terms of how much he could be used in this run-in and maybe for Leverkusen, etc. But you said it earlier. You said title race over. Is it?
Well, to be fair, we've all been saying it from.
Oh, now you don't want to back up.
No, but I remember when we beat Spurs 4-1 back in early in the season. And I was confident then.
Twice.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah, it was. Absolute bombs.
George, did I just remember a result better than Rohan? What's going on? What's going on? This podcast doesn't make any sense.
For me, mate, like, the performance was really good. On Saturday. We say this many times, in which we're happy to come on here and praise a performance even if points are dropped. And there have been results like Brighton away, for example. Brighton away was not good. We were not good in that game. We really struggled in many areas. But I felt like the euphoria and the joy from the City result kind of allowed us to enjoy that game a lot more, in that result, because we know business end of the season, you do need to get the results, especially at a time in which your competitors, Man City in this case, drop points. But for me, it's the performance. Everton, this is why David Moyes is not invited to the parade for me, because Everton were really good. I was surprised with how good they were. And actually, it's not a surprise when you look at what Everton have been doing this season. They are in the shout for Europe. They're right up there with an opportunity. And the reason why they're there is because away from home, there are only 3 other teams that have accumulated more points on the road than Everton. That's crazy, Yeah. And I felt they were fantastic. And equally, I felt we were really good as well. And I got a performance. That's what gave me the confidence. And then the Man City result as well. That now gives me the feeling that, okay, this team is starting to click a bit more and they're doing the things that I've wanted them to do for a long time. Very basic things. There's no real tweaks and innovations that Arteta's doing here. These are just pure basics that I'm seeing that's giving me the confidence that this team is now starting to shift the dial. And I think Kai Havertz is massive. He is so key to this team because of his ability up front, in how he's different to a Victor Gyökeres, in how he is more of a false 9 type, and it provokes the opposition to do different things. Kai Havertz drops. Do I stay? Do I follow? If I follow, I'm leaving all the space in behind. Whereas someone like Victor Gyökeres, who, I think he deserves massive credit for being at the right place at the right time for his goal, and also he's been fantastic at defending the front post from corners, and that was the key for the build-up to the Max's goal, right? But Gyökeres staying on the last line is a lot easier to mark than someone like Kai Havertz dropping off the last line because it creates more dilemmas. So he's massive, and I think with Max, mate, he shifted the dial. What I will say is I felt we did go through a little lull period in the second half, and when Max came on, he accelerated the momentum. And you said it, he's not been analysed. He will be analysed. So teams will come up with plans to try and mitigate his influence. But that's talent that supersedes tactics. You can't stop that. It's the Yamals of the world in which you know what he's going to do, but he's still unstoppable. So yeah.
I think on the fluidity, on the Havertz point, I think for me it makes me think about the fluidity, and I think there is. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit more about the sort of the energy in the stadium and during that game. I do think when you have a more fluid performance because of that type of striker, it does give you that feeling that you could score. And I think a lot of the time there's been previous games where I felt as though there's this sort of black hole around zone 14 and this sort of black hole around the box that we just can't get into. And we kept getting into it, and you're sort of going, it's going to come. It gives you that confidence. And I felt that, it's easy to say after the fact, but I genuinely, probably by 85 minutes, I was going, But normally it's 45 minutes, I'm starting to go, we're not going to score today. We're not scoring today. It was very much later, and then we got the goal. It's, by the way, vintage Vutsaz ignoring the question stuff. You've learned so well. Is the title race over?
Oh, it's done. It's done. Yeah. I think it's done. I'm telling you, if you're overseas, get your tickets, get your visas, get on board. We've got a parade to go to, and we now need to start thinking about fits. This is serious, Alex. We've got to think about our fits for the parade.
We've also got to think about, Rohan, is that you and I and George made a agreement that we would shave our heads if Arsenal won the Premier League. It's literally, in fact, George is the only person who can get out of it because it was on a TDK live, and George is going to do it. So you're just the loser who won't do it.
Damn right. Are you going to do it?
Yeah, of course I am. Man of my word.
Shave my head.
Well, people in the comments, what are you saying? George, I'm one result away, I think, from declaring the start race over. Where are you at?
I've said consistently 10 or more points is the marker logically. In my head, I've said that we were winning the double, Premier League and Champions League. I've said that since January.
Sorry to cut you. There was a comment recently which was like, I love that the reasonable take on this podcast was George saying to do the double of the Premier League and the Champions League. Yep. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. Facts. We've reached peak opium.
So it's look, in the heart, in terms of what you're saying, I've been feeling that it's ours for a while, but as far as the logic, I think once it officially gets to 10 or more, because right now it's 9 with a game in hand, so I don't even count that as true as far as the points go, with the game in hand being the issue, right? I think mathematically, if it got to 10 within 3, look, if it's a 3-game swing though, with obviously 3 games left, then it's done. But until that point, right? I think it has to be 10 points before I say it's done. Look, I do want to talk about the title race and blow up that sub point that you made, because I did have a post on it, and I think it's significant. It's going to be the thing that we point back on reflection on this season. and use to justify the approach. I've done a lot of criticizing of the club, but you cannot deny when you have this statistic in which Arsenal have the most goals scored by subs in the league with 11, and Manchester City have the fewest goals scored by subs in the league with 1. Moreover to that, Manchester City are at the very least the second, I think only West Ham are the only other team in the league to have dropped more points in second halves than Manchester City. Now, the issue that I've got is, where the hell is the mentality questions that we constantly get when you combine those two things?
Yeah, Rodri, you melt.
I shouldn't have deleted my Rodri tweet.
You melt.
Yeah, absolutely. Where is that? But also just factually, guys, the justification from Berta and from Mikel on doing a squad overhaul this season, because of that statistic, you have to say that they were justified. That is a major point of difference. Guys, 10 goals difference is absolutely massive from a substitute appearance thing.
It's actually, just sorry to cut you in as well. So on Transfermarkt, they do this thing called Lucky Subs, which is basically how many subs have you made and how many goals have they been involved in.
Yeah.
Overall, it's 11 goals. It's 22 goal involvements from subs. The next best is Hertzler at 14.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? And it's by a significant
Pep with
margin.
3, by the way.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, to me, for as much as I keep criticizing as far as the attack, and I do maintain that recruitment we're going to have a look at, because just fundamentally, you can't drop 200 mil and then think that you need another 2 major marquees and think that's logical fund allocation. But you also cannot deny the way they built the squad this summer was absolutely the right call. The way that they've been doing it, as far as approaching it with the way that they have, is absolutely the right call. And for as much as I feel Mikel has had valid criticism for the balance of starting 11s, his management within the game has not gotten the praise that it's deserved over the course of this season. And he hasn't got it perfect every single time. But in order to have those type of statistics and those type of second half performances that Arsenal have absolutely had the better of second half performances over first half performances, you can't deny, is it all part of the plan? Like, when you look at the ease to which we are going to potentially be in at least a semi-final, at the very least, in every single competition, that is a crazy thing to say, objectively. And, again, I have this huge point about entertainment versus effectiveness. And when you have a team that's been able to do it, it's significant, guys. Especially when you look at Man City, who, in order to even get to the point of fighting for the league, had to spend to get Guehi and Semenyo mid-season to even get to a point to make it semi-competitive. Like, that is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Arsenal are not perfect, but they are not getting the praise that they deserve for making this look easy, and not just make it look easy, but to be so comfortable in all competitions. And, we've built off the fact that we've now got this Maverick and the impact that could have. Guys, this could be the takeoff point that I know, Alex, you have been referencing quite a bit, in previous podcasts. Where can we put as a moment? And it is emotional. You all feel it. Like, there was a trust within that game. And I agree with Rohan. It was probably the best we've played. For as much as Everton made it difficult, that was the best I've seen Arsenal play minute 1 to 90 in weeks, as far as what was inevitable. I thought it was dominance with a purpose. And for as much as it was frustrating not to see us get more clear-cut chances, it was coming. I didn't doubt. And okay, fine, it took really long, but there was a part of me that felt confident with the type of possession that we were having. And that's what was different. And I had a look at it. You look at William Saliba's performance, you look at Eze's performance. That was a very big moment for Eze, where I think he finally did stuff between the boxes, having a very complete performance as far as stepping out the block, really demanding responsibility. Saliba, who has been an incredible performer for Arsenal Football Club. I don't want to add segments, but there's a discussion to be had there as far as how much he stepped up on the ball. And I look at Calafiori, who, again, for me, had an incredibly underrated performance and really helped. Like, when I look at the reason this performance was dominant, there's a lot of factors. There's the Kai Havertz factor as far as improving fluidity up in the final third, having an option, that little head back and forth he does with Zubimendi. I don't think that happens with other strikers in our team. The fluidity that offers is massive. The build-up flexibility that Calafiori offered, by the way, because as soon as Nkapia and Gabriel were together, I felt like we did lose a little bit there. So it's easy to kind of pinpoint on one magic pill and then you want to point to Max. But this game was actually, when I look at it, a culmination of a lot of errors we were making previously that we avoided. And it was beautiful to have the outcome that it did. You know, you had trust in a Maverick. Mikel had to let the handbrake go. He had to. In order to allow Max to have the freedom to go and change the game, guys, there was a lot of freedom questions Mikel has had. He factually did it. Beautiful. You know, there was a lot of Kai Havertz impact as far as what having a physical outlet does for your team. Beautiful. There was a better balance in the build-up as far as having an additional passer to the back line that I do think allowed us to have better possession and dominance of territory. Our pivot looked a lot better. Check. There was a lot of things that Everton performance, in my opinion, confirmed that we need to take forward, I hope is a lesson, and we take to Leverkusen, because I think it's coming out on match day, and I really hope we start to see this type of balance where we get the passers in the back line. We keep the freedom as far as the handbrake goes in attack. There was a lot of things we did in this game that I thought, yes, there are things that we've been asking for, but ultimately we got them. And if we're going to go as hard as we did against Wolves and not praise what we did against Everton, I don't think that's fair. So I want to praise the players, Mikel, for standing up, and not just the kid who showed us a new way, which is just brilliant on its own.
Yeah, there's a lot of encouragement from the performance. I also, not to be reductive, but I saw the lineup and went, okay,
Be good.
We'll be all right, because you've got Saka, Eze, Madueke and Havertz, and you've got 4 really good footballers next to each other. And, you know, there is something in that. And I completely agree on, you know, adding the technicality in the back line. And I think Havertz's role is 100% to be, there's something to be said for it. But I remember once seeing this tweet from this Tactico that was, I know you all know who it is. And basically, the point of it was, a good player by a good player is good. And they wrapped it up in this really complex language. I was like, no, what you're saying is good players stood by good players equals good. And that's what we had. That's what it was. And I think, you know, there is something really to be said for that. But there's something to be said for the usage of the squad. I think that is the thing I'm taking from this game, is that we have this squad that we can use. And just to go back on the sort of the substitutes point very, very quickly, something actually James Alcott pointed out to me was that Arsenal have the best record after the break in the entire Premier League. So if you go on soccerstats.com, they do a goals per time segment. So they split it up into 15 minutes. So how many is it you've conceded? Let's use us for example, 0 to 15. We've scored 6 goals and conceded 2. Our best area of the game is after the break. 46 to 60. We've scored 14 goals and conceded 3. No one even comes near us. Chelsea are sort of a little bit behind us there. It is a big strength of ours, and it's something that I think maybe has taken time to build over the course of the season. I think if we went back to October, November, I'm not sure we would have found that, but I think especially in the last couple of months, with players coming back, with, you know, maybe we haven't hit the heights with certain individuals, but this, as George is kind of alluding to, this bet on the collective is beginning to work out, and it's showing in that way, and that is something absolutely to take forward into the title race. As I say, just to sort of conclude on that conversation, I need one more result. I think I don't know if I'd put 10 points on it, but I think maybe I'm still waiting for that for the Etihad game, maybe, or maybe more drop points from them. But yeah, I think it's so really close. Which is
if we beat Bournemouth, then next, which is in about a month's time now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, and a lot can change between now and then. But like, let's say for example we beat Bournemouth and City drop points that week, even going to the Etihad, I'd say it's over. And it's amazing. We need to talk about Bayern now, but it is amazing. We put ourselves in that position. I'm sure we'll talk much more about it. Rohan, tonight, when many people are listening to this, but maybe yesterday for some people, doesn't matter. Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League. Not the best performance last time out. Frustrating. Obviously, got the late equaliser through Kai Havertz's penalty. You think you know everything about Bayer Leverkusen, is what you said to me before we started recording. You know everything, and they should sack their coach, is what you said to me. So I'm excited for this.
Absolutely. No, we were not good last week. I kind of contradicted myself earlier where I was like, you know, finally seeing a lot of really good performances. Like, it's that Everton one. You know, I still need to see a bit more, to be fair. But yeah, the Leverkusen game, I didn't know much about them before, so everything I'm saying now is based on that one individual performance of Leverkusen against us. And I actually think there's a lot of things that we can learn from. So, tacticos, nerds, get ready, because we're going to talk Leverkusen. Well, that's quite cool, actually.
Oh, God.
We could
Anyway. Anyway.
Yeah, if this was live, you'd be getting kicked.
Anyway, right. So they're a really techie team. Firstly, the striker, Kafani, is it? Oh my God, he looks good. And also Mazza, is it Mazza on the left wing? Is it George?
Possibly.
Yeah, Mazza.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, he looks good as well. So what they were doing in the game, especially from build up and goal kicks, is again, we're a wing back system. We're looking to start the pressure with Eze this time, right centre mid, in very Erdegaard like 23-24, what you call 24-25, and what they were doing is Mazza was coming really inside. So Eze jumps to Tapsoba, who's the wide centre-back, and then Saka, therefore, is tracking Grimaldo. And we're going really man-to-man. And what Mazza was doing, so Timber is responsible for Mazza. He's literally drifting all the way to the opposite side. So he's taking Timber all the way. And what that means is the entire right channel for us is left open for Grimaldo to then ghost in behind. The reason why they do that is because obviously Grimaldo is really good on the outside, but also the person who's going to be marking Grimaldo is our right winger. So it's very easy for Osaka or Noni Madueke to switch off just like that, and they've left that entire pitch, that side of the pitch open. That's a danger, and they did it a couple of times, and we nearly got caught out with it. So that's one to watch, and I think Mikel will be looking at Saka, will be looking at Noni Madueke, saying you need to switch on here at every moment, because when the game is in front of you, you can see the ball and you have your man. But the moment the ball starts to move the other way, you're starting to look at the ball, but then the man behind you breaks off on your blind side, and just like that, you've lost him. So that's something you need to be aware of. The other thing was the two in midfield, Garcia and Palacios. They're doing some nice things, dropping outside of the block, provoking us to jump out, provoking Zubimendi to jump out at times, and that left open the space for Cavani to drop in, to receive, and then they were able to play that way as well. They're really technical. And Tapsoba on the left-hand side, being a right footer, one of my little takes is with the game becoming a lot more man-to-man, which we've been discussing many times on the pod, I actually think a right footer on the left-hand side of the defence might give you a cheat code there, because they can play right into the centre. Right into the centre, because if it's man-to-man, everybody's got their assignments. So if you pull players out, it's very easy for that left centre-back who's a right footer to then just shift and then play it inside, and then it's down on if the centre-forward or the number 10 can then win that 1v1 ball to feet. So that's something that we're going to need to wary off without the ball. On the ball, they weren't jumping out as aggressively, so their pivot players, they were setting up in a 5-2-3 nominally, but then Pookie or whatever his name is on the left hand side.
Timu Pookie.
Timu Pookie.
He's back.
He would. So when we were funneling play towards the left hand side, he would jump straight to Nkapia. Then it becomes more of a back four, quite aggressive there. But on the right hand side, their pivot players, they weren't jumping out quickly. So what we did in the second half, Arteta alluded to something that they had to change really subtly, and all it was Eze started to shift a little bit more to the right hand side to give us the overload with a Zubimendi, with a Timber, and that meant we could overload that ball side pivot player when we were on the right hand side. So you can imagine their winger Mazza jumps to Saliba, who's wide, and then you're looking at the pivot player. He's then overloaded by Zubimendi and a Timber, and then we can then play it to Noni Madueke, and that's why he was getting 1v1s in the second half. We weren't getting Saka in as many 1v1s in the first half, even though he wasn't great. So I think these are things that we might see a lot more today. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried, to be honest, because I didn't think there'd be that. I thought there were going to be some bombs, I thought they weren't.
No, quite good. I was watching their coach speak, and he's obviously a very intelligent guy. Didn't know much, but I think he was the guy who got Denmark to the semis of the Euros.
Yes. They got a draw against Bayern weekend as well. So
yeah, interesting. I mocked you before. That was a really good analysis. Now I feel bad. The George, sort of more on us, maybe a little bit more in possession. I think what I was frustrated with was our approach in the first leg. I think you can go down the usual too slow, playing outside the shape, etc., etc. The player I'm looking at, I think, in this game, especially in the form he's in after the game he just came off, is Eze, because I felt as though, and it's two things. One, I'd love him to take a little bit more responsibility and just execute better than he did in the first leg, and hopefully that Everton game has given him a bit of clarity. But also in the knockabout episode, I made this point that I think in that game, Zubimendi and Rice were dropping so much that to sort of move players around, to be the decoy. There's a whole other conversation about how this pivot interacts with Eze and sort of this disconnection that happens. That Eze was often left isolated up against the pivot, and he was basically expected to be, he'd get the up, but then for him to be the back and the through. And I think what would happen is he'd receive it and he'd have nowhere to go to and not necessarily have that central access. If he had a Zubimendi or Rice, if Mikel wasn't so willing, let's say, or asking them to be so deep in our first phase, maybe they could be there to support him with some wall passes, etc., getting into more sort of dangerous positions. But I think in general, as his performance against Everton has excited me for this Bayer Leverkusen game to see what he can do. I do still have this thing about us against back fives playing outside the shape, and I think if we can get Eze in the shape, which I think requires one of Rice or Zubimendi to be a bit closer to him to support him in that way, I think this could be a game for him. So I'm looking at Eze in particular.
Yeah, not to be difficult, I think Calafiori is key to allowing Eze to be a little bit higher up so that he doesn't have to drop as much in terms of the build-up, because part of the problem is us not having even an option to receive in those areas because Eze's dropping out to help. And far too often in that first leg, you could even see, look, you have the dreaded U, but there was this thing that Eze was dropping out of the block along with Rice, along with everybody, and I'm saying, who is going to be the one in the middle that's even a receiver at all? And so when you have Calafiori in there, it just allows Eze to bump up. And, I do think a lot also depends on the striker. Again, I don't want to get into it as far as the roles go, but, just with fitness as well, the fact that we've got Gyökeres and Havertz, it was a physical game against Everton. And Havertz did a lot of work. And I do not want to be in a position, especially in the final. Like, I think Havertz must start the Carabao Cup final. And that's a lot to expect 3 starts in a week on a player that we desperately need for the season. So I think making Victor Gyökeres work is going to be key. And along with that, Trossard, along with that, and Eze being a little bit higher up. And, we want to have the Calafiori movement. Like, I think Calafiori is actually completely vital to the success of this second leg, not just in terms of facilitating Trossard inside, but also Eze. And just to rejig some of the balance, guys, there is something to be said as well, by the way, with potentially Yuri and Timber missing training. So I look at it as far as the fullbacks, actually, for me, they might allow a different type of Eze performance. If we're looking at a Ben White start, which I would personally love, I think a lot of people might be worried based on the analysis that you gave, Rohan, with Grimaldo on the outside. But to me, I really feel as though that actually having Saka on the inside and having a threat along with your Ezes, along with your Trossards, like having enough ball defeat in behind that back 5 pivot is going to be really key, because Leverkusen do a really good job about drawing you in one side to open the other side for a long switch. Like, they really want that kind of, that early Mikel tactic in the FA Cup in which we're going to overload a particular side, then a quick switch out to the space to break. That's what they love. And they love having Kofane to be able to lump up the ball, to hold it in those areas so that they can overload a side. And he's brilliant. He's great. But I do think that from an Arsenal perspective, having more people and receivers to threaten inside a little bit is great, because in that first leg, Saka was really isolated. Of course, we can talk about as far as his performance goes, and I'm not trying to justify it, but he was incredibly isolated. And I do suspect if we're going to start Victor Gyökeres, there's going to be similar isolations. So actually having Ben White for this game, which I felt was critical in the Leverkusen match, I was yelling for Ben White to come on the pitch. I really think the use of Arsenal's fullbacks and the potential for both Calafiori and Ben White to start this match could be a big reason as to why the story of Leverkusen could go a long way to combating some of the tactics that Rohan had laid out.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting, and I fully hear the fullback argument, and I think that sort of has the knock-on effect on the central areas. And I don't disagree with that, but I also think there is an execution and a bravery aspect. I'm even looking at players like Declan Rice as well, just to carry a little bit more. There was moments where he'd come and take it off a defender, and you could see there was space inside, and he was electing to pass it consistently, especially against back fives. I really want to see more carry in this team. massively. I mean, it could, if I think Calafiori is the right pick, but a Miles, I don't think that's going to happen. But he feels like the sort of player who can suit these game states and make something happen for us. Maybe that happens later on in the game. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting lineup to see how Mikel solves things, and I think he will. I think he generally tends to learn, or at least not necessarily solve the way we would want it or whatever, but he will have an idea. He will have something that he says, okay, I see that happens, and it'll be interesting to see how he fixes it.
I think like Leverkusen are not going to do a lot of different things in this second leg. I think they showcased what they are about, and it's also the quick turnaround of games. Arsenal would have done their due diligence on how they play, but there's always certain nuances that perhaps they might have been a bit surprised on. And he was kind of alluding to things in his presser and saying, okay, we now have a bit of understanding of what they're trying to do, what they're trying to provoke. And, we did see a better second half against them, despite the really poor start, with the goal that we got caught out with. So, and Manoni Madueke was fantastic. Without him, we're coming here with a 1-goal deficit, and it becomes a little bit more tricky. So I think this is going to be close, though. I'm a little bit worried, because of the Carabao Cup coming very soon as well, and the quick turnaround from the Everton game, which was physically demanding.
It's the sort of game I'd love to see us start. We said it last week, but start really quickly. I think we've built into games. In fact, if you go back to that analysis earlier that I gave around the sort of the time we're scoring our goals, the first 15 minutes are one of the lowest that we have, and I would love to see us start quickly, get them under some pressure, get them on the back foot. I don't care how it goes in, corners off Calafiori's bum. I don't care. Just go in. Do you know what I mean? I think to get some early goals, etc., and then to be able to play with fitness a little bit later on would be great. Final question. I sort of mentioned I would sort of talk about this later, and we'll come to more specifically on the Carabao Cup and the Cup final. Sorry. How much do you expect Dowman to be involved this week, as in against Spire and City? Is it off the bench dependent? Would you start him? Is there any part of you that thinks, what sort of involvement, Ryan?
I wouldn't start him in any game from now to the end of the season. We say he's our trump card and whatnot. We do need to be a bit careful as well. And I think Mikel was alluding to that as well post matches, like, karma, in terms of like, are we going to see more of Dowman? I think the thing that I'm really happy about with the Dowman cameo against Everton, so there wasn't many periods, but there was a specific little like minute in which Everton did pin us after we scored the goal. And the way we defended and looked to manage that situation, we did it with everybody apart from Dowman. Dowman was left right on the halfway line. And I like that because I think that is an element of safety, because imagine if Dowman is tasked to defend and to try and take in that information and he makes a mistake. How could that... I don't think it would affect him, but you have to think of those things where if you just keep him high, you allow him to be himself. If we just hit the ball, he could do something. I think those sorts of things you wouldn't see if it was, a Leandro Trossard. If Leandro Trossard was in place of Dowman, he would have been defending deeper there to manage that situation. So I think you bring him on when you need a goal, towards the end, like not early, not at half time. We need to be a little bit cautious there. And I just think with the Dowman thing, there's nothing that's going to stop this kid apart from injuries. God forbid he doesn't get anything like that. And I don't think he is this type, but humility, humbleness, and having your feet firmly on the ground. And the reason why I don't think he is that type is, one, I just don't think so. And two, the people around him. I think Declan Rice is his mentor. You've got so many people to learn from there. So, but yeah, I would just use him as a trump card.
This is such a me thing to care about. Do you know what's annoyed me this week? Wayne Rooney was like, well, education's got to come first, and he's got to do his GCSEs. Are you joking? Well, I hadn't even thought of that. I hadn't even thought of that. You can do your... I had this argument with my mum on holiday. You can do your GCSEs any time.
Yeah, of course.
You can do them at any point. You can't be 16-year-old, maybe potentially the future best player in the world, anytime. And also, education can happen in a whole different... It's not... It just annoys me so much. Like, passing a memory test is not the only way to prove you have an education. this is not the time to focus on your GCSEs in case it all goes wrong. It's Max Dowman. He's the youngest Premier League goal scorer in history. If there's one person who doesn't need to focus on their GCSEs, I think it's Max Dowman.
He needs to be able to do trigonometry, mate.
No, he doesn't. No, he does. It annoys me. When people say it to sound sensible, but it actually ends up sounding really thick. It's like, no, he doesn't. He does not need to do his GCSEs. Or he can do them and fail them, or it doesn't matter. He could go back and do them later. Oh, my goodness me. There you go. All the parents will be going, no, Alex,
Yeah,
when you have kids. I don't care. Go over yourself.
Parents, go after Alex.
Yeah, go on. Tell me that the 16-year-old youngest Premier League goal scorer in his GCSEs. Right. We'll answer all your questions and more.
What? Score predictions.
Part 2. We're back for part 2. There's a break.
Oh.
Yeah. Score predictions for what? For Bayer?
Yeah.
We could do that now.
Go on then.
3-1 to us.
Really?
Yeah.
Took my scoreline.
Is that a nice, relaxing 3-1, or are we going behind?
Yeah.
Like 0-0 till about 55 minutes. They score, and then we react. Like, almost certainly.
God's sake.
Yeah, I think I'm different to you two. Like, I'm a lot more confident of this match than I am the Carabao. Like, I'm flipped.
I was just gonna.
George is confident about a game. What?
No, but I'm less confident about the Carabao Cup final. Like, I'm more nervous about that one than I am Leverkusen. Like, I really think, look, if we perform like we did against Everton, we wipe Leverkusen. I think a lot of the issues were self-inflicted, and the way that we played it was shades. I remember the IR. It wasn't as bad as Wolves, but it was shades as far as the way we played against ourselves. It was slow, the tempo, all the things that we said about issues with Arsenal. I think it was very frustrating, and it had less to do with Leverkusen forcing us in areas to do that. I just thought that there was a lot of responsibility that people lacked, namely Eze. You're looking at the back line, you're looking at people coming inside, Saka isolated. I'm like, look, if we play like that, we're going to lose or draw games and drop points. So to me, it was more to do with what we could do. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know, because you took mine, I was going to say 3-1. That's a typical George scoreline. Maybe 2-0. I think. I actually think it'll be. You
can do the same prediction. It's not.
I can't. Okay.
It's not like
3-1 then.
A token that runs out.
Yeah, 3-1. But I think it'll be easier. Like, they will get a counterattack. I don't know when, but I do think that we're gonna have a strong performance. I think the Emirates will be firing. I think it's one of those that you build, and it's exactly what we need before the cup final.
Oh, I think it's going to be a stinky 1-0. I think we're going to stink it out, and we'll just about get over the line. We're going to be tested. Our pots, for sure.
If you want your questions answered as a priority on the squad, you can do that by becoming a member on Patreon or as a YouTube member and getting access to our Discord server, which is popping off at the minute. There's like lore and there's all sorts of stuff going on. It's like it's reached the point. George and I were talking before the stream. There's like enough people in there now that it's like it's got its own government. It's like there's politics, there's all sorts of stuff. Do you guys know much about this?
Well, I've dipped in and out, and yes, usually it's okay, but
I'm just seeing poly-furry relationship. I don't know what that's going on about. Anyway, let's go on Pod Matters. I'm just going to leave this Discord needs policing. Let's do this question from Bear. If this is really it, and we get across the line in May, what are your personal Arsenal suffer moments? The ones that hit you the hardest across your whole time supporting the club that got you to this moment?
As from this season, or
ones that hit you hardest across your whole time supporting the club? Clues in the question.
Where do I start? Jeez, I've had a lot, and I've been going when we were absolute dog as well. Okay, so let's stick with Arteta. I think let's stick with Arteta, right? Because that'll be more interesting.
I don't know, the 5-1 against Chelsea hurt me personally. Like the Wenger 1000th game, that was a really
6-0, George, 6-0
or 6-0. Sorry, that really hurt. Seeing that. I'm trying to think as well. Like, I'll be honest. I think the Arteta point and during Christmas, in which there was a very good chance that I thought he would get sacked, was also a very dark moment prior to Emile Smith Rowe. coming on and having that Chelsea performance, like that run that led to it was quite a dark moment. Baku was dark as well. We've had our share of dark memories, guys.
Yeah, I think Baku was the point which I think Spurs are at now, where you're like, you kind of, because of the name, you go, no, we'll be back. Like we will be. Yeah. But we were not Baku. You know what I mean? And that was bad.
Get him off.
Yeah, kick me. No, that was the point where I went like, there's no guarantee here. Like no one is guaranteed to compete at the top of the success. No one is like owed it. We have to earn it back. And I think it was the first time when I went like, I'd just been like, oh well, Arsenal will get back there. Of course they will. And then I was like, I don't know if we will.
Yeah, I hear that. I didn't know where. The reason why I'm so grateful for Mikel. I didn't know where this club was going. It really upset me. Day after day, I think about Arsenal all the time. I thought about Arsenal as much then as I do now, and it was killing me. But I would, in terms of like Wenger games, the 2-1 against Birmingham in 2011 was a proper dagger. Like that absolutely killed me, because the man of the match in that game was the cycling GK. It was Ben Foster was the man of the match, and then the way that they scored that goal over Femi Martins.
Yeah. God. Well, the Aguero goal against Mustafi, that's in the Carabao Cup final. Like that summed up Arsenal of that era. And then him like blaming other people, and you're like, "There's no one else to blame, bro."
That week was awful because we'd lost 3-0 to them. By the way, the real ones were Aubameyang missed from about 2 yards out in the first minute in that Carabao Cup final. Anyway, love Aubameyang. But then we lost 3-0 to City midweek in the Premier League as well, where it was like snowing. So we got 2 3-0 pastings.
What's the closest you've been under Arteta to being like, no? Because people can go back to this podcast years ago. I was in the trenches fighting against Bradley Adams to keep Mikel in like 2021. Like I was like, no, bro, like trust me. I genuinely think I've been in the weirdest way. I've been the closest this year.
Interesting.
As in, not that I don't think he's whether he's a good manager or not has never been the question. But as in, is he going to get it over the line? I've had a few question marks. Like maybe he just won't, because my sense has always been he will at some point. There's been a few games this season I've just gone, maybe he won't.
I think for me, I've never wanted him to go. Like never. I've never doubted him in that sense. But
apart from when you texted me that time.
Oh yeah, that time. Yesterday was it?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
2 days ago. But that run in before Boxing Day 2020, I think there is an argument that he could have been sacked there. In that period. Like I think there's a strong argument. I wouldn't have done it. I felt that there was a lot of context behind the results, but those results were awful. I do believe though, if there were fans in the ground, we would have won more points in that period. Do you know what I mean? So people are like, the argument is, well, if there were fans there, Arteta's most certainly wouldn't have been it. I don't think we would have dropped as many points if there were fans there, because every game was treated as a neutral ground. So
I also think, mate, on that, like, maybe I could be wrong, but I think, similar to like, obviously Spurs fans would probably want Igor Tudor out, but there was a sense around that time of like the more blame on the players as well. Yeah. Like it might have been seen as a bit more like, yeah, but the players aren't. And now I think it's not quite that.
The 2 periods though, I think, where it was quite toxic in terms of Arteta out, where you could feel it in the ground. And I went to a couple of those games. Like, so in 21-22, when we'd lost 3 games in a row, right, to Brentford, Chelsea, and then City.
Yeah.
But we had so many players out and COVID as well. Yeah. But there was a feeling where he could have gone there in terms of what the fans wanted in the ground.
Yeah.
The online perception and what's in the ground is completely different. And then obviously 2020 before Boxing Day. I think that was the only real 2 periods in which you could feel it, like match-going fans. So.
What was your closest, George? Like, when were you like,
I'm kind of a blend of both of you, where I'm with Rohan, where I never felt it. I had complete faith in it. But I'm with you, Alex, that I felt that he's had more coaching mistakes this season than he's had in other seasons. Like, I would argue that this, to me, especially on the balance point, and I'm a lot more critical of him because I think that he's got the squad, that he can't defend some of the decisions. Like in earlier years, it was like, okay, fine, he made certain mistakes, but it was because also he didn't have the assets to play in some of the ways that I wanted us to play. And it wasn't always perfect, but I felt like, okay, going into this season, you can't make that excuse. You have all the assets possible to play certain types of ways, but you're still making certain balance issues that frustrate me. So I've been the most frustrated with Mikel that I have been in recent times, but I've never had a point in which I felt like a change was there, because I knew that he was just a very special man, and I still maintain this. Regardless of what you think, I think that the conversation will really flip as to the degree of how special Mikel is with the trophies. Like, it's fair, like, you do have to win at some point. You can't just continue being promised certain things, but he really is crazy young. He really is an innovator, and it really is a point in which he's consistently, we're going to look back on, he set the tempo of the league, whether we want to like where the league was going as far as set pieces or not. Like, he became a manager to influence the global aspect of that. And it wasn't just the Premier League. Like, other European teams are starting to put a lot more focus on it. Like, it's clearly where the game's moving, but a lot of it had to do with him at the driver's seat towards that. And people won't like it because of the way he's done it and the aesthetics of it. But how is that any different to Pep as far as his central access and the tiki-taka and how he really started to emphasize positional football? I mean, again, I think that conversation people are going to be more willing to have when Mikel has success to back it up. But I really think, as far as the blueprint to rebuilding clubs, a lot of the structural stuff, a lot of the things that Arsenal did under his reign, clubs have tried to copy and haven't got quite right. So you're going to look at the scope of work. And as long as he's got that output of basically being on the honor roll, aka like a trophy, you can actually start to talk about some of those things.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if the scope of that is going to be different. But yeah, I never had a question, but I had the most questions recently.
Yeah, I think where I think the stronger argument there for me is, I think Mikel has set a tone with like how you rebuild a club. Like, I think that is very much in terms of that, you go in, you get the culture right, you get rid of the egos, you do all that. Like, that is very much, especially in the modern era, I can't think of anyone who's done it in such a clear and obvious way in the last like 10 years or so. He's very much, and he is the benchmark for that. I think on the sort of the style point, I agree less, purely because I think it's more about Mikel looking around and adapting his team to what the league is, which doesn't feel like him necessarily dictating it. And I think moving forward, I'd like to see him dictate it a bit more and be like, actually, guys, I want to go this way, and this is the way the league's going to go. But I think that will come with trophies. I also think we're going to be more frustrated naturally as we go further along, because we understand them more. It's like the longer you are into a relationship, you're like, yeah, I probably love you more and deeper, whatever. But you also, you do that thing over and over again that I've told you not to do, and it's that frustration, right? So yeah, I'm not surprised that you and I, George, are, like, had the most frustrations this year. Yeah, because we're so close and we know his difficulties, and he has all of the tools. But I do strongly believe he'll get over the line.
Just to quickly add on that point, so would you say, because I think, when people say that, oh, Mikel's philosophy is so boring, I think that's just a really vague way of looking at it. Like, I don't look at it as this is Mikel's philosophy. I've never looked at how we play in each season of, okay, this is exactly what Mikel's wanted from the moment he started coaching. He said, right, this is the way I want to play. He would have had his idea, but as you've alluded to, is for me, Mikel's, one of his best qualities is his way in which he adapts accordingly to what he foresees that is going to happen. Doesn't mean he always gets it right, but he is looking to predict where the game's going, and he'll act accordingly. So would you say that next season you'd like him to actually showcase what really is his philosophy, and
yes,
in that
or
way,
more?
So, yeah.
I think Mikel, if I had to describe his philosophy in like one word or maybe like a phrase or something, I don't know, maybe I can't do that, but it's basically this idea that I think he looks at absolutely everything and goes, right, how do we maximize that? How do I get the most out of that? How do I prepare myself best for that situation? And by the way, that's an unbelievable philosophy for life. It's very, very good. And you go, right, I'm going out and it could rain, it could be sunny, it could be this. So I'm going to take I'm going to have all these tools in my toolkit, and I'm going to practice putting on my sunglasses as quick as I possibly can, and also putting on my raincoat as quick as I possibly can. And that's amazing. It's really, really good. But I'd love him occasionally, if you can, Mikel, to dictate what the weather is. Does that make sense? It's like you're so prepared and you so know how to deal with situations, but just occasionally can you dictate the terms of things. That's all it is.
He was that guy, like for A-level exams or GCSE exams, he was taking all the past papers from the previous years He was checking the questions and he was trying to find a trend of, okay, this question happened in 2010. It's not going to happen again this year.
And he's run all the algorithms. Yeah. And 100%. I remember those kids. Peter Vincent at my school was that kid. He would literally like go through the past papers and be like, well, that isn't going to come up again. And by the way, he was right. Like he was right. So it's not a bad philosophy. It's just now we are AQA and Edexcel. So we can be the ones. And OCR. So we can be the ones to write the papers a little bit more. That's my feeling with Miguel. That's my only criticism.
Yeah, the only thing is I also would say, guys, is I do think his ability to coach distance, such a nerdy thing, but his ability to coach distances has been from the very get-go. Like we talk about culture and we talk about those things, but his clarity of positioning have been defensive fundamentals that he started from the very beginning of his coaching. And, for us to sit there and say that he had the best out of possession press, like I go a step further, his understanding of the press. Now, maybe that's come with the coaching staff that he's been able to come and bring up together, but just the way he organized a man-to-man pressure, I really haven't seen clarity of thought with that in so many different players. Like I look at what he did with Aubameyang, and who is the very opposite of a pressing forward, and how he was able to make him understand the positioning where to be out of possession. Like, I really think he's got a unique ability to do that. And his defensive understanding of positioning in particular, closing space, those things, like, they're the bedrock to who he is. Like, I don't think, again, the few times that's went, I go, whoa, this team frightens me. Because it's literally happened, I think, maybe 3 or 4 times across his career. Like, it has happened, but it's been very, very rare. And I do think that's the one thing that he'll always maintain. Maybe certain structures might be favored more than others, but this idea of the whole man-to-man press that we have seen being more accepted through the league, I think it really got pushed. And like when he first came in, how we won that FA Cup, like I'm trying to think back, the defensive principles with who we had, it was crazy. But the way that he was having Mustafi and like all these other Socrates being able to defend was insane. Like I don't know a coach that could have walked in to make it functional out of possession. And it was not just functional, it became the point that we made. Like, don't you guys remember during that time, like that clip that was going around about us bopping it in the build-up as far as Man City goes, like with who we had, Denny Ceballos leading the build-up. Like, I just think his clarity, that's going to be one of his superpowers amongst how he speaks. And I don't mean that to degrade it. Mikel is one of the most powerful orators I have seen as far as a coach goes. Look, I make no, qualms that, Arsene Wenger is like my personal role model to football. And like, that won't be the same for everybody's, but a big reason is because, there's a bit of the philosopher to him in terms of the way he spoke. But Mikel, he is a different beast in terms of being able to provide authority, but not be dominant, like not in a toxic way, not in a toxic masculine way. It's more, he is an incredible, orator as far as getting you on side, being able to dress situations. And that is a superpower. Like, I think those two things are things that he's going to carry for the rest of his time. But I am with you, boys. We've always said it. Like, when he wins, there's going to be an ask to be more entertaining. And he's shown it, by the way. Like, I do think he's been scarred by certain 5-1s at City, right? Like, he's been scarred by certain performances. I think the offensive fluidity part that everyone questions and the freedom comes with evolving from winning, right? Because it's not just win at all costs. It's, okay, I've already won. Now the next task is let me win in a beautiful way. Let me win in a different way because I've already shown that I can win. So that demand is a slightly different one.
Yeah, I think so.
But
and he'll want to show that, and he's literally openly said in press conferences, I want to play a different way. He said it. He has literally said it. He's like, I would prefer to play in a different way, but this is the way the league is, and I think that is going to be the flip. Yeah, he's an incredible man. We're very, very lucky.
It'd be unbearable.
Mate, incredible. Ayatollah Moneypenny.
You love him.
Low genuinely, Rohan, I saw you were excited to answer the question last week, but it wasn't answered, so SpongeBobviously, I'm going to ask again. Kiss, marry, kill, Emery and Slot.
Oh, God. Now we're talking. Emery, Ange, or Slot, right?
Kiss, marry, kill. Kill Emery.
Yes! Well
he's
done,
gone.
Alex. Yeah, he's gone. Sorry, Emery. I'm going to kiss Ange.
I'd kiss Slot's bald head, and I'd marry Ange so I can give him some therapy. Why are you so angry? Why do you deflect all the time? What's going on? Talk to me.
He's going to give you 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups every day. He's that type of guy.
Alex, mate, I'm not doing the washing up, mate. It's just not who I am, mate. It's just not who I am. Come on, mate. George?
Oh, God. I don't like these questions. Probably Unai Emery and Slot are the ones that annoy me the most in that three. So I definitely marry Ange.
Marry Ange.
But I think I really don't like Slot. I find him so arrogant. I don't know. I really don't like him.
I don't mind him, you know.
He's your Ange. I hate Ange.
He is.
Slot, he's all right. He's Dutch. He's just very direct.
I actually think my hot take is I think Slot speaks a lot of sense, impresses. Genuinely. I actually think some of the things he says I agree with. The issue is he said things in the past that contradict what he's saying. But I do understand a lot of the way in which he sees the game and how he's describing it and how it's evolved. I think
I just find him whiny. I find him making it strikes me as like the guy that got beat 5-0 outside on the car park, and he'd be like, yeah, but I didn't bring my boots, or like the gravel was this, and it's like, be quiet.
I'll still slap his head. Just one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, four-finger back of the neck. Like that,
with the
one
red
of those
marks.
Oh my God! Four-finger to the back of the neck. Absolutely.
Do you see the clip of Igor Tudor trying to he was trying to get his attention? It was just some random bald guy.
Speaking of that, right? There was one guy on my Substack, and he was asking for it to be on this podcast today. These 3 moments: Thomas Frank Silver Member Cup.
Yeah.
That one with Tudor and
Igor Tudor, bald man.
The Paul Tierney one where he just starts
he's looking at the camera.
Which one is your favourite out of those 3, and which one's your least favourite?
Least favourite.
I think Paul Tierney.
Yeah, Paul Tierney's top. It's just the way he's like. It's like The Office. He's like.
That is a scene from The Office.
Yeah. It's so good. Yeah. There you go. Little promotion for Rohan Substack there. Do we? Do you want to promote it? Where can people get that? Genuinely.
Oh yeah, the name's a bit rubbish.
What is it? Rohan Jivan AFC Substack.co.uk.
It's Row Arsenal.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. It's Row Arsenal. Yeah. So when I get time, I'll write a little bit. Yeah.
Rowarsenal.substack.com.
If you just go on my Twitter, first tweet, pin tweet, and you'll be able to subscribe. So yeah.
Okay. Question from Ed on the Discord: are Arsenal going to be the worst team ever to win the Premier League?
Right,
I'm tired
guys,
of this question.
I had a man who is a Leicester fan. Recently came to me.
What, you?
And he said,
You.
Oh yeah, me. I was talking to myself.
It's like when someone goes, "My friend was wondering."
now, this is a proper Yadar, right? I'm talking serious Yadar level.
And
I'm going to bring this question. He said the last 2 seasons of the Premier League have been awful. The Leicester City title-winning season would have walked the league this year and would have walked the league last year. That's what's happening.
I sometimes think, don't engage with these people in terms of football terms. Just go. When were you last happy? When was the last time you felt really content with life? And they'll probably go, 2016. Yeah, funny that.
Look where they are now. They might get relegated again.
It's like all those people are like, "Oh, mate, football was way," but what? Yeah, football. Of course, football was better when you were 21 with no responsibilities and your team was winning. Of course, football was better then. It's just different.
I'm just gonna say this one thing. You cannot say that Arsenal are on track for the most wins in a season, in all competitions, and say that this is not a good Arsenal team. I'm sorry, I won't take your opinion seriously. You may not agree with how they play. You want to say that you don't like how they play, no problem. As far as effectiveness goes, miss me with that. I think is what the kids are saying, because you look at every single metric. This is a very dominant side, and they've had my frustrations. I am ready to talk obscene things at the end of the season when they pair it with trophies, because you know,
it'd be ridiculous.
It's
the most relentless person.
You wait. ridiculous statements.
You see me. I am gonna. Oh God, you don't realize.
Don't follow me. Like unfollow. Genuinely, it might be annoying for you. I will trigger you. I'm warning you at this point. I will trigger you.
I was already there on Saturday. I was going at Rodri. I was going at every single guy. Like, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Do you know what as well? Done it without cheating.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like Chelsea and City. Like we've done it without cheating.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Without a marquee forward.
You're never going to be in 2025. You're never ever going to be popular winning stuff and being the best. So just get over it. It's fine. Question from the lovely website known as x.com. Wild Ace. Who's the biggest One day I'll have a voice crack and not acknowledge it. Who's the biggest Arteta fan of the three of you? And who's his biggest critic? And has that changed across his tenure compared to right now?
Who do you... Let's ask each of us, right? Go on.
Ranking of Arteta fan to bottom. It's hard to answer because I would say George has probably been the most outspoken critic, but equally you predict us to win every game.
Extreme.
You predict us to win 5-0 every game. So
like I'm like the most extreme.
Let the comments say as well. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm interested in what the comments think. Yeah. I think we all appreciate different positives about him and all have different negatives about him.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Let's look at it a different way. Who criticizes him? Who criticizes him the most?
Probably me.
I think that's easier. I think that's easier to do. I don't think I criticize him as much.
Probably.
Because, I don't. Yeah,
my only challenge to that would be sometimes I think because your analysis is really technical, George, it's sometimes hard to tell whether you are criticizing him or not. As in, it's not necessary. And I feel like maybe I say more critical things, but you are being more critical. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's definitely between you two, I think.
For sure.
I do put a lot more on players, for example. Like this season, I
think
put
so.
a lot on players. I genuinely do. So I love Arteta. Because honestly, Arsenal were making me feel so sad. By the way, right? We're 1 hour and 12 minutes in? Okay, right.
Where's this going? Terrified.
Arteta, yeah. If you look at... All right, I don't swing that way, right? I do not swing that way. If you do, fine on me. Look at it. It's just there. It's just right in front of you when he's celebrating and he's turned back. You're looking at him from the back. It's huge.
You're saying his bum is big?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
The bunda.
He's doing.
I'll be honest. I've never thought about Mikel Arteta's arse.
No, genuinely,
but I'll look at
I don't believe you. I do not believe you.
Okay.
Because if you watch if you just watch bench cam and stuff, it's always there when he's celebrating. I mean, yeah. So
there's nothing I can do here because this is going to get clipped up, and I'm involved.
I think
and I'm gonna get killed for it.
George, come on, George, don't leave me.
Mr. Gunner, straight on this.
Talk
about his arse.
I do not care anyway. I don't. But I'm telling you, you're lying, Alex. You are lying.
I've never thought about Mikel Arteta's arse. I could say that in.
But you can appreciate. He's done a lot of squats, hasn't he? He's done a lot of squats, and yeah.
I'm all about Bunda analysis, but I can't say I haven't quite got there
yet. Sorry, right? I wouldn't leave you out to dry.
Oh my god.
Good stuff. At least it's at the very end. People might not notice.
Bloody hell, he's doing X squats for X Bunda.
I didn't know how else to word it.
Let's do one more question. Who has the nicest arse? No. This one from Ryan Cooley. City can max now get 85 points. That's if they drop no more points. How many do you think Arsenal need from the 21 remaining points available to win the league?
Where are we at again? To remind me?
70, I believe.
I think 81 does it. Like low 80s will do it. So 80 to 81, if that's possible.
So I can't see City getting Yeah, I can't see City getting to mid-80s from 61 points in their last 8 games. Is that even possible? I'm not sure it is.
I think they lose a game and draw a couple. So,
they're on 61, aren't they? They're on 61 points.
They're on 61. Yeah, so their maximum, according to Ryan, is 85. Yeah. I can't see them getting there. I think they get to maybe 78 maximum, something like that. Yeah. And I think 83 points is probably enough to win it. 13 points in the remainder.
Yeah, so 4 wins and a draw.
I think we go into that Etihad game.
It won't mathematically do it, but it will end the title race.
And maybe it'll be one of those where we want to win it for that reason. But even if we lost that game, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
For the title race.
They got to play Chelsea next, right? And I think Reece James is out now, so that's a big loss for Chelsea. But yeah, I think for me though, I want this team to get 90 points. I think if you get 90 points in the current version of the Premier League and how difficult it is and what managers are saying, what players are saying, Virgil van Dijk.
I'm with you. Now, you know what? I wasn't with you, Rohit, but you know what? You can always get George on side by the narratives of what others are saying.
100%.
So, yes, for that.
George, someone's attacking Arsenal. Where?
Where?
No, I saw a tweet and it really resonated with me where it was like, Arsenal fans are allowed to have the Arteta in and out discussions, but when the rivals are talking about us, it's our club. We all stick together and we fight them. And I thought, do you know what? Yeah, I want to.
It's that thing. Have you ever had that thing where you banter your mate off, and then someone from the other group tries to do it? You're like, hang on, no.
That's already it. Don't do that.
Nuh-uh. Literally, we can say we're terrible. You can't.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll leave it there. It's nice to learn more about you, Rohan.
you. Like, I know the comments are going to back me up. It's just there.
I felt maybe I'm being hot. It's nothing wrong with appreciating a man's.
That's what I'm saying.
Man's put some work in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not flat there. That's for sure. It's very
peach broccoli bum.
Like when you get his side profile, it's just that.
Yeah, man, broccoli bum. That's what that is. Yeah. Nice floret.
I was going to say something else. I'm going to refrain.
End it.
Good stuff. If you're still with us, why? Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back for an instant reaction after the Bayer Leverkusen game. We've got a tactical preview of the City game with these two. We haven't even spoken about it yet. What are you going to do? Like a rewatch or something? I think you should. Here's what I think. I think do a little bit of a rewatch. Maybe get the tactics board out. Do a bit of jiggery pokery. What do you reckon?
Yeah. What rewatch what game though?
I don't know. The City game from maybe the one from September, something like that. The last time we played them.
So
could be interesting. Anyway, we'll talk about it after. We'll do some kind of tactical preview for the City game. I will have some kind of preview out with a City fan. We'll be talking about City on TDK Live with James C and Rohan on Thursday night. The Knockabout, we'll be talking about the City game. There's so much City content to come, so thank you all for joining us and sticking with us. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you, Rohan Jivan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, George Rusas.
Thank you, good sir.
Why don't you
and keep it Bunda.
Thank you, Puddletown.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for keeping Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Inspiration.